and welcome to the final webinar in the Fall DAAD North America webinar series. We're delighted that all of you could join us today for the webinar on undergraduate opportunities for study, research, and internships in Germany. So before I get started, I am going to do a little bit of a webinar walkthrough to talk to you about how to use this webinar software if that's not something you've done before. Then we'll move on to an overview of DAAD funding opportunities as well as a really exciting opportunity through a partner organization called the Universities of Applied Science 7. They have a SIP internship and study program that we have Kim Sims, colleague, on the line to talk about as well. And then we will have a question and answer session. So you should have on your screen something like this here that looks like a control panel. You won't have this attendee list because there's so many attendees. We hide that so that it doesn't get in the way. This grab tab here allows you to maximize and minimize the size of the control panel. So if ever you lose the control panel, just look for this little grab bar here, and you can click these arrows to increase the size of it, which allows you to get to the questions pane. The audio pane here controls how you're listening to the webinar, either through a telephone or mic and speakers. And if at any time you lose audio, sometimes it helps to just toggle between these two radio buttons, and that will reset your connection. The questions pane is down here, and we encourage you at any time to submit questions to us that we will answer during the Q&A session. So there, encourage you to submit your questions as you'd like, and this is also where you can chat us a message if you're having audio problems or problems viewing the webinar or something like that. So please do not be shy. We look forward to your questions. Just type in there and click send. So I am going to just give a brief background on the German Academic Exchange Service, DAAD, so you have a little bit of a sense of who we are. We are fully funded by the German government, and we represent all German universities. And what we do is provide scholarships, information, and counseling about studying and researching in Germany. We're here to help you understand the German higher education system and how you can be a part of it. We give grants for all academic levels, everything from undergraduates, which is why you're all here today, for graduate students, PhDs, postdocs, and faculty. So pretty much wherever you are in academia, we have grants for you. And another really cool thing about Deity Funding is it's for all fields, regardless of what you study, with very, very few exceptions. But for the most part, anything you're studying, we have a grant that can support your stay in Germany. And those stays can be as short as a few weeks up to a year. For example, our undergraduate grant that my colleague Britt will talk about is 2 semesters. And even at the PhD level, we offer up to 3 years of funding to complete a PhD in Germany. So as you can tell, it's a wide variety of people that can apply for funding to do a lot of things in Germany. Our regional office for the U.S. is in New York City. That's where my colleague Britt is, and I am in San Francisco. We also have an office in Toronto. And all 3 of us work together to promote Germany and our grants here in North America. You can see we have a huge budget, and with that huge budget, we support worldwide around 67,000 people going to and from Germany. Each year we receive around 5,000 Germans to study, research, and intern in the States with our funding, and we send around 2,000 Americans and Canadians to Germany. And one thing I want to note early on is when we say North Americans, we mean people that are studying in North America. So for most of our grants, we don't care what your citizenship is, just as long as you're a degree-seeking student here in the States, then you're considered North American. You can see this is the network of DAAD offices worldwide. My office is over here in San Francisco, the New York office there, Toronto, and you can see the offices from all over the world. And all of these offices work day in and day out to send students from their country to Germany, as well as receive German students to study and research at their institutions. So you know that when you study in Germany, you have a very, very dynamic and diverse group of international students studying alongside you and your German peers. The percentage of international students in America is around 4 to 5%, and in Germany it's around 12%. So that just gives you a sense of how, as the Germans say, multi-culti their university system is. Some of you might have heard of the Bologna Process, and that is something that Europe decided on a little over 10 years ago to standardize their higher education system. Before in Germany, if you studied, you would study for 5 or 6 years and get something called a diploma, and then you would study a little further and get a magister, and these were very good degrees, but they didn't relate necessarily to other degrees. Each country in Europe had their own system, their own degrees, and through the Bologna process, this was standardized. So now Germany also offers bachelor, master, and PhD programs. This is great for you because if you get a bachelor's degree here in the States and you want to do your master's in Germany, it's easier to apply to that program and have them recognize the bachelor as equal. Or if you want to do a semester or a year in Germany, it's a little easier to understand how coursework transfers back. There are over 900 degree programs in Germany that are taught fully in English. And this is another unique thing about Deity Funding is for most of our programs, you need to know as much German as the program that you're doing requires. So if you're doing an exchange program at your university where you only need to have had 2 semesters of German, then for the purposes of our scholarships, you also only need to have 2 semesters of German. So there's a lot of flexibility out there for how much German you know. If you know 0 German, that does not by any means disqualify you from participating or being competitive for our grants. The Bologna process also brought in modest tuition in Germany. Now only 2 of the states, of the 15 states in Germany, charge tuition. Before there was more, but the students got all up in arms and did a lot of demonstrating, and now there's only 2 states that have tuition, but it is very low tuition. It's between 0 and 500 euros a semester. So you can tell that tuition is nothing compared to the tuition we know here in the States. So with that, I am now going to pass the virtual microphone over to my colleague, Britt Schenkel. Britt, are you there?
Yeah, hi Leslie. I am trying to figure out how to start the slideshow from the slide, but I think I'll have to go through all of those here, and here I am.
Great, and when you're ready, just click OK or show my screen.
Yeah, give me 1 second here. I'm sort of...
Britt, are you still there?
Working. Yes, I'm okay, here I am. Okay. There we go.
Okay. Perfect. Looks great. Take it away, Britt.
So welcome everybody. Yeah, I'll have to add that those of you who are actually undergraduates or hoping to go to Germany as undergraduates are quite lucky. North America is pretty much the only location that offers these grants for undergraduates. We very frequently get requests from many different countries would like to study in Germany for the duration of their studies because they don't have money, but and they're coming from lots of underdeveloped countries, but we don't offer those scholarships in other countries. So you're amongst the lucky ones. Now the DAD scholarships for undergraduates usually include a monthly stipend for our undergraduate program. It's about 650 euros a month, and that changes as you get older and you're at a different level as a student. Usually the amount is considered generous for our grantees. Some of them have actually managed to save money and travel with the extra amount. We do insure all of our students regardless of their own insurance status because we want to make sure that they're covered by the standards of the German statutory insurance. So you will definitely have a good health insurance, and there's also liability included. We invite our grantees to a meeting in Bonn, which is in fall, in October, so the ones who are going just for a semester in spring are going to miss it. I just got back from it, and We now put together undergraduates, graduates, and PhD students, and even postdocs attend. So it was a very interesting meeting, I think, for everybody to, see what you can do at what level with the DAAD funding. And we also give our grantees a lump sum for travel, and that always depends on the location you're in. We distinguish between East or West Coast, and that's very roughly divided by the Mississippi, and our Canadian grantees tend to get a bit more than the US grantees. Now, the undergraduate scholarship, where we have an upcoming deadline on January 31st, is usually granting about 60 scholarships. It sort of depends on who is applying. We tend to have about 240 applications on average, so the selection ratio is actually quite good. You're standing a high chance of getting the grant as compared to some of our other scholarships or Fulbright or Marshall scholarships. The exact amount depends on how many people apply and are accepted for semesters and for the full year. Normally, we sort of start our counting with the full year program, and then we sort of have to divide up the scholarships, which is a bit difficult. But it's open to students in all fields. We have students who are doing research in the sciences, for example. We have students who are participating in study abroad programs. Some of those are actually US-based study abroad programs. Most of the grantees are actually in exchange programs of their own universities with a German partner university. Comes to mind is the University of Colorado has a long relationship with Regensburg, for example, and there are many others of those as well. I am always asked how much German we require. We say we don't really require any German, but in all honesty, our selection committee does look whether you're making an effort to learn the language. So obviously, if you want to read a German philosopher, you should speak German quite well. If you are in the sciences and you realize, wow, Germany is a great destination, and you've just started to learn German, that's also okay. But we'll sort of look at, how much an effort you're making as well. The rest, I believe, I've already covered. The deadline is on January 31st. That means it's a postal deadline, so you can send off, postmark your application on that day. I'm not even sure if it's a Friday or a Saturday, but if it falls on a weekend, it's usually the next Monday thereafter. Now, a very, very popular program that actually was started as an internship in chemistry and has now ballooned our research internships in the sciences and in engineering. And they're in the summer and therefore make it easy for science students to leave. Usually you have a much more rigid curriculum, and maybe it's more difficult for you to leave for a full semester, for a full year, and we understand that, and we offer this program. We do not look at your German knowledge at the time. We actually provide some German classes to some of the grantees, so that's an additional perk, I believe. Now, the whole program is interesting in that you actually work with a German doctoral student. You can access our database in December, and you can look at what projects are being offered in Germany and what field and where you would fit in. And then you can apply for several of these projects. You sort of list what you're most interested in, and if you are ranked highly by the German doctoral students, if your GPA is great, you may just get that scholarship as well. We placed, as you see, over 300, almost 400 interns in 2010, and I think the number has been steadily rising.
But it's actually not going to rise above 300-ish. It's going to, unfortunately, there's not more money, so the program is becoming more competitive because we're not able to increase the number of interns.
Exactly. And Leslie, we're also offering it for other countries now as well, right? That makes it
yeah,
makes
the
it
UK.
interesting.
Yeah, so it's the UK, Canada, and the US are all sending students. So we actually have, of these 364, I think 300 were funded by DAD, and the remaining were co-funded by their universities themselves, because the universities realize what a great program this is, and even though the DAD has a cap on how much they can fund, a lot of universities have thrown in some extra money to help out students who weren't in the top 300 from DAD ranking. So just wanted to jump in there with that. Keep going, Britt, sorry.
Yeah, and I know our head office, they're actually working on finding more universities that are willing to match some of the funding as well. They've talked to me about it, so I think that's a great effort if that willingness is there. And for some reason, the RISE grantees, once they come back, they're just so completely enthusiastic about Germany that it just must be a wonderful program. They have a meeting usually in Heidelberg of all the grantees, and seems that everybody has a good time there. Leslie, you've attended the meeting, right?
Yeah, I was able to attend this summer, and it was a lot of fun. 350 students running around Heidelberg giving presentations on the research they were doing, sightseeing, learning from each other, hearing about what life is like at a German university, visiting German corporations. It was a jam-packed 3 days and a lot of fun.
Okay, now since some of the RISE grantees want to go back and do it again, and some of them have actually graduated or may have an interest in the industry as well, we also have a RISE professional program, which now looks, as you see on this slide, like this. It's an internship with a German company, and the dates are actually not just during the summer, I believe. They are sometimes also during different times of the year, but that sort of all depends on where you go
start
with
in
your
the
application.
Summer.
And
yeah.
They start in the summer, yeah. Okay, and I know they're looking for more applications, so I believe they may want to make the program more competitive, and they're probably ready to actually find more internships at different companies. And that may provide you an opening at, some of the big companies such as Continental, Siemens, and others that operate internationally and also have offices in the U.S. and in Canada as well. We also offer summer courses at German universities. Now, what's interesting about these, or what may make it tough for some students, is that the summer courses actually do have a language requirement. So you must have had 2 years of college German, and those are not language courses. They tend to, even though they have a language component, they tend to focus on political science, on history, on many different subjects. We actually have a database there. You'll see the web link here, and that tends to open up later in the year. I think they have opened up already. I'm not sure. I know we've received some information about the summer schools.
Yeah, it is up already.
It's up already, okay. So you should have a look and see what you're interested in, and then you can apply for a scholarship from us. And the deadline is coming up fairly soon, so you may want to get ready for it. It's December 15th. It's maybe not too convenient if you have finals and whatnot, but this way it actually works best for all participants. So I encourage you to look at this program as well. Then we have our study scholarship for graduate students, which actually also means graduating seniors. Now the deadline is now. So if you're just hearing about this, you probably are going to miss the deadline, but it's something that may interest you in the future, especially if you are really interested in the destination Germany, if you are interested in getting a master's degree in Germany eventually, or if you are possibly interested in a particular project you'd like to work on. Now this program is very competitive. We have some partner universities in the US we work with that require that you contact somebody at your own school for a pre-selection process, but what you need to do is just look at our website and then determine whether you're at a partner school or not, but anyone can apply. And we've really seen an increased demand for the master's degrees in Germany. They seem to be very, very popular. Now there are some other smaller, very specialized programs. One of those is Intern Exchange. It's a journalism program in Berlin, which is run together with students from Russia. Here the deadline is also in January. It is not for Canadians, unfortunately, and it requires, I would say, not just a good proficiency, but it really requires fluent German, because you will be working in German and writing in German, etc. So if you are, if you spend lots of time in Germany already on various exchanges, maybe you have family in Germany and your German is really good, and you would like to work as a journalist internationally, this is really a great chance. We have a very tough selection process for this. I think last year our interviews were not in person at our office anymore, but via Skype. But still, you'll be, talking to somebody in German in order to get chosen for the program. The other small niche program is a Bundestag internship, where you'll intern for 2 months in the administration of the Bundestag. We do say it's for advanced undergraduates and graduate students. That means we have had maybe in several years 1 or 2 successful sophomores, but most of the successful applicants are graduating seniors, sometimes juniors, and also students who are in law school and who are getting a master's degree. You see the fields listed. That's quite obvious. We have a lot of students who are interested in working in the foreign service, and this is open to Canadians as well, and for some reasons the Canadians are always very competitive, very good applicants. Scholarship is actually not a scholarship. It is a actual salary by the Bundestag, and therefore you have to be enrolled. And if you're not enrolled at your own university anymore, you actually will have to enroll at the FU Berlin as a program student, and you'll have to pay a fee which also covers your semester ticket. Now the deadline just passed in September. This is for the coming year, but if you're interested in doing this in 2013, then you should apply by next September and can prepare for this already.
Okay, Britt, and in the interest of time, I'm actually going to switch to Kim now, and we'll come back to this after Kim goes. But I just want to make sure that we get to Kim and also can have time for questions. So, Kim, I'm passing it to you. And are you there, Kim?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. I am almost slideshow. All right, I'm ready.
Okay, perfect. Take it away.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Leslie, and thank you, Britt. Actually, a good deal of Britt's presentation already foreshadows some of the messages I'm going to be emphasizing. So but on the other hand, it's also going to be a bit distinct because the organization, as Leslie mentioned, that I represent is 7 German universities of applied sciences. And you may notice, so you may notice that the organization is much more specific than the German Academic Exchange Service. The German Academic Exchange Service seeks to promote higher education in Germany, and UAS 7 seeks to promote specifically the opportunities that are available at German universities of applied sciences and in general, and at its 7 member institutions in particular. So you see these the locations of these institutions at the map on the right. And the program which UAS 7 offers is known as the Study and Internship Program, and it's almost always referred to as SIP. It's been around since 2006, and it got off the ground with startup financing from the European Recovery Program, and it's been also supported from the start by the German Academic Exchange Service. And since last year and ongoing, it has also received substantial support from the members of the UAS 7. It's actually for a full year, not just an academic year, but a full year, which is divided into 2 main phases. The first main phase begins with an intensive language program, which we offer at various levels, and the bulk of that first semester is spent at a UAS 7 member campus for study. During that semester, students are also actively seeking an internship, which they complete from the second semester from March through July. You also notice here that the German academic calendar is a bit different from the U.S. academic calendar, and the actual semester tends to start anywhere from late September to early October, depending on which institution you're working with. The benefits are very similar to DAAD scholarships. In fact, the €700 number that you see there for the monthly stipend tends to net out to about $650 because that includes the contribution for health insurance, which we also include. We include that language course that's included in the benefits, as well as the travel subsidy, which Britt mentioned. We also adjust that based on whether you're coming from the East or West Coast. And as with most of the DAD scholarships, anybody studying at a North American institution in Canada or the U.S. Is eligible to apply, so your nationality does not matter. And the objective here really, it's more specific than the DAAD, although we also are interested in promoting higher education in Germany. But because we are relatively young institutions, we want to make sure that good students have opportunities to study at UAS 7-member institutions, and we want to make sure that they know what a German University of Applied Sciences is, and that appropriate students can find their way to us. So as I mentioned, we are sort of the new kids on the block in German higher education. We've been around since 1971, and we offer bachelor's and master's programs. These are all professionally oriented programs, so some of the examples that you see below are you would distinguish them from, in some cases, from the similar disciplines that you would find at a traditional university in terms of the degree of application. For example, communications might be taught at a traditional university as communication sciences, but at a University of Applied Sciences it would be taught as communications management. And those sorts of distinctions are more or less across the board. The low student-faculty ratios and hands-on teaching are very distinctive for the German higher education landscape. The feel of a German classroom at a University of Applied Sciences tends to be much more intimate, much more seminar-like, because our classes are simply relatively small and perhaps a little more comparable to your U.S. liberal arts institution. At the same time, our curriculum tends to be oriented around projects, and that's in particular because our faculty are a bit different from the typical German professors that you would find at the traditional universities who have all done a habilitation. That's sort of like the second PhD in the German system, which the German universities of applied sciences do not require. And in lieu of that, what they do require is a CV that demonstrates that they have already spent at least 3 years outside of academia in business, industry, for a public agency, anything that allows them to bring real-world experience into the classroom. And when we're still on this slide, I'd like to point out, you see engineering up top. That's what we're traditionally associated with. We do offer a very wide range of programs. We offer about 470 degree programs at the bachelor's and master's level amongst the 7 institutions. But we're known for engineering primarily because about 2/3 of all engineers trained in Germany do train at universities of applied sciences. So that's just something to keep in mind if you are interested in those fields. I did mention our connections with business are important. I think I may have addressed most of that already, but I would like to just, maybe explain a philosophical distinction between a traditional university and a German University of Applied Sciences, because the autonomy from the sector in particular is especially ingrained in German academic culture, and that's something that has been not as characteristic of German universities of applied sciences. We sort of build them into our curricular establishment. They have input into how we teach. Our faculty still have the last word, and as a result, our graduates are prepared to work throughout the economy. They're not just trained for a specific company, but we do definitely utilize their input as we design our curricula. What makes a competitive SIP application? This is something that our office in New York works on a great deal, and we really do welcome your questions. We're willing to work with everybody on a one-by-one basis. Very much like the many of the study scholarships through DAAD, German proficiency is not required, but from case to case, it may be more or less necessary. Our bachelor's programs in particular, we have a wide range of English language courses, but we really have to look at each case to make sure that your major is represented and that it offers enough courses in English during the fall semester, which we call the winter semester, for you to succeed. And if your German proficiency isn't very high and you need all of your courses to be in English, then the range of choices that you're going to have is going to be a little bit narrower. That's just a fact of life. So we do encourage you, of course, if you have German proficiency to apply, but even if you don't have it, we ask that you do check with us and see if we can find a program that would work for you. Because in many cases that is possible. The statement of motivation should point out that you understand the types of institutions that you're applying to, and that they are specific and that your field of study could benefit from that. And you should also show that statement of motivation to your recommenders, because if it's apparent from the gap between your statement and your recommenders' letters that they don't really know why you're going and why you want to go and what you can get out of it, then those letters of recommendation just don't do the job that they should to underscore that you have a coherent, well-planned agenda for your year in Germany. The proof of contact is kind of a mysterious step in our process, and students spend a lot of time on this. Basically, the first step is to contact the New York office, where I and a colleague will work with you to identify which of the UAS 7 member institutions are the best fit for you. Now, at that point, we will refer you to the international office at those institutions, which will help you contact the specific departments, which would be your points of contact there. And At that point, any communication you get back is something that you would submit with your application. And that communication is really important because it shows the selection committee that you will be able to use your year properly, that the classes that you're going to need are going to be available, and that they think that they're going to be able to accommodate a student in your field in the upcoming winter semester. As far as our deadline is concerned, I would encourage Canadian applicants or students in Canada to consider the deadline February 1st, because even though this is a postmark deadline, our Canadian applications frequently get held up at the border with customs, and I would hate to see anyone disadvantaged by that process. Another reason I would encourage everybody to apply as soon as they have their applications prepared and not to wait to the last minute is if we open up your application and we notice that there's something missing, an honest mistake, then we will contact you and give you a chance to make up for it. But if the deadline is already passed, that puts students who have submitted everything by the deadline at a disadvantage. So if you submit your application a bit early, we can help you fill in any potential errors. As far as the well-reasoned choices of host UAS, I think we already covered that. You want to make sure that your field of study is available in a language that you're prepared to study. But the other point that I would like to underscore is that you should be strategic. And that's where I'm going to look at the map, bring that back up, and point out where we are in Germany. I know that probably 90% of you want to go to Berlin or Munich, which is understandable. Those are both great cities, and we have great institutions there. But I'd also encourage you to look at our other institutions for strategic reasons, really for your own sake, because the applicants are not considered in one big pool. They're considered on a host institution request basis. So if you apply to Munich, you're going to be competing with a much wider group of applicants than if you apply, for example, to Osnabrück or even to Cologne, which is a city with over 1 million people in it and a major festival that's it's basically carnival. So all of these are cities with really high quality of life, and they're great places to spend a year as a student. So please consider all of them seriously. Obviously narrow it down by your major and by the languages that you can study in. But after that, please be open-minded. It will help you to be more competitive. And you may have an experience that is not quite what you would imagine, but is every bit as valuable. Now, I'd also like to emphasize that you should choose to host UAS. You'll see this on the application, but not everybody takes it seriously. If there are 2 institutions where you can study what you need to study, you really need to list 2. A lot of pretty, borderline, almost competitive applications, I think, might have made it if they had been eligible to be considered for their second choice once they were not chosen for their first choice. So if you have any opportunity to do so, please list 2. I realize that in some fields of study that's not going to be possible. It's also possibly not going to be the case for some students who can't study in German, because that does narrow down your options. But most students really can find at least 2 programs that will work for them. So it's really up to you to make sure that you have as good a chance as possible. And I've put our contact information here because we're available by email and phone, and we welcome your questions. Yes, and we have a Facebook group. So that is, I think I will hand it back over to Leslie and Britt.
Great. Thanks so much, Kim. I really appreciate it. Britt, do you think you can pull up our tips for success? That would be great. So yeah, again, thanks, Kim. I appreciate that. And a lot of what you talked about making a successful application is similar to what makes applications successful with DAD. So I just want to briefly talk about that, and then we will open it up for questions. So I encourage you all to keep those questions coming as we just briefly talk about what makes an application successful. So first and foremost, express why a stay in Germany is critical for your academic or professional goals. So this is where we want to hear specifically why Germany, why that specific program at that specific university, why that is the next logical step in your academic or professional career path. It's very important. We want to hear specific things, not so much kumbaya, hand-holding, international understanding. Go a little bit beyond that and tell us concrete reasons why Germany is the best reason or the best place for you to study. The next, quality letters of recommendation. Kim, I love that you brought in showing your documents to the recommenders. That's something I always like to encourage students to do as well, because the more understanding that your recommenders have about your motivations, the more they're able to tie that in to their letters and have your application package be very cohesive. Obviously, make sure your application is on time and complete. The letter of invitation is not really necessary for our programs, only at the much higher PhD level. And finally, utilize your on-campus resources. So we know that you have a lot of really dedicated folks on campus, be it in your study abroad office, fellowships office, your professors, career office. Contact them, have a meeting with them, ask them with much advance notice if they'll look over your documents. It's really important to get as many eyes as you can looking on your documents, and also the input from these people who have helped hundreds and hundreds of other students apply for similar programs. So, Britt, are there any, before we move on to the Q&A, are there any tips that I didn't mention? Oh, sorry, Britt, are you there? Okay, maybe not. So, okay, then we will.
Hi, Leslie. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, I would say the letter of invitation is important for undergraduates if they are planning to enroll directly or if they'd like to give an edge to their application. So for graduate students or students who are in a master's program, we don't necessarily need those, as Leslie said, unless they're at a much higher level again. But if you're an undergraduate, you want to give your application a little edge, and invitation is actually not bad.
Okay, great. Then if you want to just go ahead and go to the next slide, Britt, and then I will start with the Q&A.
Okay, let me see how I can get this back here. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm trying to click on it and go to the...
There we go.
There.
Perfect. Okay, so the first question comes from somebody at University of North Carolina, Greensboro, who says that they have a very active exchange program with Germany and are wondering whether students can apply for any of the DAD grants in order to study in Germany through the school-sponsored study abroad programs. So, Britt, if you just want to briefly touch on that.
Yes, as long as the program is running during the academic year. So if, for example, you're applying in January and you're planning to go to Germany in October of 2012 for a semester, for a full year, and you're applying for your exchange program, yes, you can also apply for our scholarship.
Okay, great. So I think that's something that a lot of people are confused about too. But as Britt said, you can use the program that your school offers. That's absolutely no problem. The one thing that we don't cover is tuition for your university. A lot of the way a lot of study abroad programs work is you continue paying tuition for your American university and then go abroad, and they help cover your costs. So we don't cover tuition here in America. We will waive the standard tuition in Germany if you directly enroll. But if you're doing an exchange program, we don't deal with any sort of the tuition here on the U.S. side. So, the next question is from a student, I believe a student who wants to know where you can find courses in German in Germany. So the slide that Britt has up now, if you look at the higher education compass, if you click there, or the one below that, dad.de/idp, those are both great resources for finding programs in Germany. And actually, I will bring up my screen here real quick. So this page here is the database for international degree programs in Germany. So these are English language degree programs. And I actually just want to preempt any question and say we will be sending out the slides from today's presentation. So the slides that Britt, Kim, and I presented, we'll send them out to you today. And we'll also send you links to these sites that I'm showing you right now. So this site is English language degree programs, where you can just click on bachelor's degree here and then click your subfield, subject, and then it'll show you all the English language degree programs. There's a lot more at the master's level, which you'll see here, for example, 73 English language electrical engineering programs in Germany. So this just lets you search in English. You can also spend a lot of time on this website. There's a lot of information. Course search, all courses, first degree studies, that's like a bachelor's degree, and that would take you to this website. This is where you would find all courses offered by German universities, so not just the English language courses. And it's similar here with a drop-down. You can language, media, and cultural studies. I'm just random here, English studies in general. You can even choose which town, a Fachhochschule, so a University of Applied Science, like Kim was talking about, university, etc. Click search. So these are really, really robust databases that give you all sorts of information that you could possibly want about degree programs in Germany at which universities. So now I'll send it back to Britt if you want to put that slide back up. And the next question, this might be one for Kim, since this is a degree program offered by a lot of the UAS7 programs. The student asks, they notice that there's a discipline for business, and she wonders if there's a program for accounting.
Absolutely, yes. We do have accounting programs, and be glad to help you find the specific programs that would work for you. I mean, I know off the top of my head that the Berlin School of Economics and Law offers accounting, but I'd be glad to go through all 7 of our programs with you. For study and internship program, actually, I believe I did not emphasize this during the program. There are only SIP placements at Hamburg, at 5 of them, and at Hamburg and Münster will not be available next year to study there through the study and internship program. But you can still study accounting at any of our 7 institutions through a regular exchange semester, or if you are from a partner institution, or as a free mover.
Okay, great. The next question is for Britt, and that is, if a student is chosen as a DAD grantee, is the scholarship contingent upon certain requirements? If so, what?
I'm not exactly sure what that means, but basically if you receive our scholarship, you can't receive another scholarship. You have to, we will be sending you a little booklet, which is sort of a guide on your DAD scholarship, and you'll have to keep us posted on where you are when you arrive in Germany. You have to hand us in your transcripts. You have to be in touch with our Bonn office. They're really very simple things you have to abide by. You can also eventually apply for a housing subsidy if need be, if you're living in a very expensive city. If you have a spouse or a child, you could even get some extra funding for them. But again, you know, you will have to, you know, show certain things. You will have to fill out documentation. If you do leave early, if you are not responsive to us, we may threaten you with legal action, so that you may have to pay back the scholarship, but that happens very rarely. But again, if you're awarded 2 different grants, and that's sometimes the case with Baden-Württemberg scholarships and our scholarship, you can only accept one of those. Now, if you're getting some other funding from your own school here, or from other U.S. or Canadian sources that cover your tuition here, for example, that's nothing we're interested in. It's basically, we're basically funding your living expenses in Germany.
Great.
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think so. He didn't follow up again, so I think it might have. So we do have another few minutes for questions, so keep those coming if you have any. Oh, good, he said it answered his question, so that's great. The next question I have is for Kim. And Kim, how much support do students receive from the university that they're at when looking for an internship?
That's a great question, and sometimes there's some misunderstanding about this. The students are ultimately responsible for finding a placement, but because these are universities of applied sciences, it's a much smoother process than if they simply applied from the U.S. or even from another type of German university. That's because they will already be studying in classes with faculty that have strong connections with specific companies, and because our students are also used to applying for internships. Some of them are even participating in cooperative education programs, so they're constantly going in and out of the workforce and back to the classroom. So we've had a very, very high success rate. There have occasionally been students that have not obtained internships. That's definitely the exception and not the rule, and I also expect that that's not going to be a problem in the upcoming year, simply because the German economy is doing so well right now, and that tended to happen during a period when the German economy was not doing so well, and that's just whether you're in Germany or the U.S., it is hard to justify for employers taking on interns when they're laying people off. But really in 2012, 2013, I expect things are going to be very, very positive for interns in Germany.
Great. Thanks, Kim. And perhaps you can follow up on that too, and say students that have such a great time in Germany that they want to go back or they want to stay. Do you know just anecdotally of students that have an internship that perhaps leads to a job, or they make connections where they come back for a master's degree or come back and work after they finish the degree here? If you can just speak to that briefly.
I believe anecdotally, I don't know of any that stayed on in that job. Mostly, I believe, because most students are going to return back to their home institutions to finish their degree, although we do consider applications from students who will have just graduated. But in general, we do, most of our students tend to be in their junior year, sometimes in their senior year occasionally, and even more seldom they will have just graduated. But what I have noticed, and this I learned about through the DAAD Young Ambassadors Program, where I met 3 students who had studied at our UAS 7 institutions, some of them through SIP and some through other programs. And 2 of those 3 are actively looking at master's programs in Germany through UAS 7. So I would also, just on that note, partly to highlight that, that's just that anecdotal evidence that 2 of 3 of our alumni then consider a master's program in Germany significant in and of itself. But I'd also like to highlight the DAAD Young Ambassadors Program, because that's just a great resource for learning about what people who have actually done these programs have to say about their experience.
Great, and I actually have ready here on my screen the Young Ambassador webpage, and this is a program that Britt manages, so she can say something about as well. But these are our Young Ambassadors this year. They're alumni of any program in Germany, and we bring them to New York for a long weekend for training and then send them back to their home universities, where they then promote Germany as a destination for research and study, and also make students aware of the amount of funding that we have for that. So you can see here's all the students, and if you want to look and see, I want to see which students are in California. We have Gordon at Cal Poly, and then I believe, Jason here at Berkeley, for example. So you can also search by field, cognitive science and German, history and economics, etc. And feel free to contact these students at any time if you have any questions about studying in Germany. Rid, if you're there, we have a question coming in about the main criteria for selecting students, GPA, work experience, etc. What are the criteria that have the most weight when the selection committee is doing their selecting?
Well, for the undergraduate scholarship, I would say it's evenly GPA, recommendation letters, and the proposal or the letter of intent. Sometimes we get the question, oh, what am I writing a proposal about? But basically, yes, you're proposing why you're going to, or why we should be funding you for your time in Germany. So, you know, it needs to be well thought out, and as Leslie already said, you know, you really need to stress the necessity for going to Germany. Why there's something in Germany that maybe you can't study in the U.S. So maybe there's a particular professor doing some research that you can't find here. You know, you have to try to find your own angle. And for the RISE program, again, it's a dual matching process. I think the GPA is very important, and of course the recommendation letters. They, you know, make sure that your professors don't send something that they've already sent for another scholarship. You know, if it says, oh, for the Fulbright committee, that's not such a good idea. You know, if you talk to your professor and you let them know what this is about and what you want to be doing, then, you know, they should be able to write a good, very specific recommendation for you. I would also like to point out, Leslie, that recently I got the questions from our young ambassadors about RISE as well, that our website that leads you to RISE will lead you to our German website, and I have brought it up, but if you want information and reports from previous participants, it's a very thought-out website. It really tells you how the matching process is being done, and it's very detailed. You just have to go and look for it.
Oh, sorry, Britt. I think I got cut off there for a second. Thank you for that as well. So it looks like we're just about out of time here. So Kim, if you would like to have any closing words before we sign off.
I appreciate having had the chance to present our programs with the DAAD programs, and we are I'd like to underscore that we are here in New York, and we welcome questions from individuals, and we will be glad to provide very detailed answers on how to make your application as competitive as possible.
Great. Thanks so much, Kim. And how about you, Britt? Any closing words?
No, but thank you, Kim, for basically pointing to our young ambassadors. If you can't reach the young ambassadors, please contact our office, and we'll be able to put you in touch with the young ambassadors. We can also put you in touch with current grantees that may be studying in particular fields, so we'll be happy to share to help you out. And please don't hesitate to contact us or me or you know, our office in regards to RISE as well, and we'll forward your questions. We are here to serve not just the faculty and the professors and the administrators, but we're here to talk to you directly as an applicant as well.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much, and that's an excellent point, Britt. We're here for everybody. So thank you very much, Britt, for putting your years of expertise behind your presentation. Kim, thank you as well. I always learn more, too, about the UAS 7 program when I hear presentations, so thank you for, I guess, growing my knowledge base as well. And thanks to all of you for participating. We will be sending up a follow-up email with the slides from today, as well as the links that we mentioned. And we look forward to receiving a lot of applications and any questions that you have and moving forward. So thank you, everyone, for participating, and we hope to see you in Germany. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.